Alright, so long before I started my craze of making hard ciders, at least 5 years now, I've been making my own liqueurs. There's mainly my favorites are coffee liqueur and Irish cream. The more I've made Irish cream, the less I really think of it as just a straight liqueur like my chocolate liqueurs and raspberry liqueurs. Whereas Irish cream is a mixed drink, but as most people go and buy it if just Bailey's or one of the other Irish creams, they kind of think of it as a liqueur. Well, here's the steps in what it does, or at least how I make my Irish cream. I do have a few recipes that are a lot more closer to Bailey's, but I've come to really enjoy the recipe I have now, which gives me a lot more chocolate flavor to it. And it's not that hard to make, because all I really need is some type of blended whiskey. I'm now using Seagram 7. It works fairly well for that. Originally, the recipe called for Jameson's Irish whiskey, which works really well for it, but the taste difference between the Jameson's and the Seagram 7 isn't that much, especially with all the other ingredients. So that's part of why I went to the Seagram 7, because the Seagram 7's bottle is about $5 cheaper for the much larger bottle than what I get in the Jameson. But I do keep the Jamesons around because they're nice glass bottles, and they work very well for bottling my Irish cream, so I can put it in the freezer. But we'll get back to that later on. So after my Seagram 7, I will have instant espresso powder. I found several places that I can get that works out fairly well. I use a nice high quality cocoa powder that is just pure cocoa. Then I have a sweetened condensed milk, heavy whipping cream, pure vanilla, pure almond extract, and honey. I will put in the description down below the recipe that I'm using, but the major part of this is you take all these different ingredients, put them into a blender, and blend them up really nicely, and then chill. And that's about all the more there is to it. I'll try to get a little more video as I'm putting everything together so you can see a little more of it in action and kind of how I do it. We'll start off by putting the Seagram into the blender. I need a cup and a quarter. My blender at least has a half cup increment, so I'll get it somewhere between 1 and 1.5 cups and then go from there. Not sure how well you can actually see the markings on the bottle, but I've got that between 1.5 or 1 and 1.5 cups. So that's my first cup and a quarter. Next, I'm going to put in the heavy whipping cream because I need a half a cup of it. So I'll try to get it up between 1.5 cups and 2 cups so that I get it in the right spot without having to dirty up any more measuring cups than what I put in here. It isn't baking, so getting the ingredients close is about all I need to do. I've found that seems to work fairly well. The next thing I put into the blender is the sweetened condensed milk. It's a nice thick therapy cream, and as you can see, it's running off the lid onto my cabinet here. It does take a spatula to get it out and all into the container. It's really sweet and good, so I try to get as much of it into there as I can. Alright, now that I have all of the large wet ingredients in, I'm going to go to getting my dry ingredients that I need teaspoons and tablespoons of, such as the espresso powder and the cocoa. Get those in first, and then I will go to my smaller wet ingredients of the honey, vanilla, and almond extract. Alright, so once I've got all the ingredients in the blender, I'm going to let it blend until it's a nice creamy mixture and it doesn't look like I've got any lumps or anything that hasn't been blended in. Alright, so once I have the Irish cream nicely blended, I usually pour it into a bottle. And as I said, I use my old Jameson bottles to fill it up because it makes 750 milliliters plus a little extra. As you can see, my jigger cup fills up almost perfect with the leftovers from when I make it. So I fill the bottle and put the bottle in the freezer. The original recipe said in the fridge for up to 2 hours before you started to drink it. And it is definitely better cold, but since I've always got a little bit left over, I get a taster now, and after an hour or so in the freezer, it's ready to drink. The nice thing about this is there's enough alcohol to it that it will not freeze solid. So I usually, that's the main reason I keep it in the freezer, because I really like it nice and cold, and it comes out fairly well that way. So hope that helps some of you.